And it was really a thrilling story, but also a thrilling story in the middle of a dark and almost indescribable period. And I thought after '96, so little conversation around AIDS was taking place that I wanted to take an opportunity to look back over those years and see what we could learn from them, see what stories we hadn't told since then. And I realized that the story of how we got to the drugs in 1996 was an incredible accomplishment, a triumph. And it was a triumph of activism, a triumph of gay people, as Larry points out, and a watershed moment in healthcare. I mean, everything about science and medicine was revolutionized by over that period, and all of it. That all of those institutions that we've inherited and the standards and practices were created, literally created by a very small group of people working as activists, some in New York, and this is their story.
Had your path had crossed with Larry previously?
Oh yeah. I know Larry from real early on, when I was still working at the New York Native, which is it was a very exciting newspaper. It was the first time we tried to do, in community publications, tried to do real reporting. You know, we tried to find stories that hadn't been told and tell them. When AIDS struck, it became the publication that people went to for their AIDS news, and not just gay men or people in the community affected by it, but scientists were subscribing to the paper and reading it. And it was although I was responsible for the news coverage, it was really much better known for the bombs, the literary bombs that you were throwing in it, that were pushing everything forward so dramatically. So yeah, we know each other for, I've been saying, a decade or more, because that doesn't make it seem that long.
We both realized we had a good story, so we stuck with it.
Well, I'd rather the story hadn't happened.
Well, it's interesting when you look back how few of us there were who responded to it, the number of people that this film represents seems large when you see them all in one room, until you realize that it's just one room. And while maybe there were a few rooms elsewhere in this country at the same time, still, compared to how many people were available to fight, both in the gay population and supportive friends, precious few actually did do this fight and did do this work. I'll never, ever be able to understand why every gay man didn't come out and fight for his life, because his life certainly was threatened. They really will be able to understand that.
What I found remarkable when I looked back at it was what it took to become the people that acted. Who were these people?
These people were people who were scared shitless they were going to die, yeah. and were able to take that fear and turn it into energy.
And that's remarkable.
And I don't think activism works unless you're angry, unless you're frightened. Meetings were filled with not only camaraderie and love, and I mean, it turned out to be the best cruising place in town, but also with terrible fears. Have you heard of anything? I got that all the time. Have you heard of anything? Have you heard of any drug that's coming along? What do you hear? As if I knew more than they did. And we were constantly surrounded by these wonderful people who, many of whom were not only your friends, but people you took to bed with, or danced with, or gone to Fire Island with, or worked with, or just been neighborhood chums with. I don't think you'll ever understand what it was like to especially in the village, to not be able to take a walk without hearing about somebody else who was sick. That's what it was like, or somebody else who had died. And it was like that from 1981 through 1996, 7. It's a very, very, very long time to feel abandoned by your country.
It was precisely because there was such a uniqueness to this incredible movement for self-empowerment, and a uniqueness to the characters of the people who did it, that I wanted to retell that story so a new generation could know it, and so that we wouldn't lose it as part of our history. And that's how to survive a plague. So this is for you.
Thank you guys both so much.
Yes,